I just have a feeling like Pokemon games are just not the same. I'm going to tell you why. If this is you, feel free to listen in on my opinions on where I think Pokemon is as a video game, as a franchise, as Game Freak continues to develop more games and more merchandise and more anime. I am basically going to go over my personal feelings on everything and then kind of explain how I think we can fix it. And of course, the positive. There are positives in the current games and how we can improve on those positives and continue to make better games than what I personally feel as subpar, mediocre games. Now, it's no surprise for those who are longtime viewers of the channel that I am a huge collector. I do collect physical media. I've always stuck with physical games. If you haven't checked out my last video, I explained that this might be the end of physical Pokemon games if Pokemon Pokopia does really well, and I also give some other opinions on that game as well. So if you missed that video, feel free to check that out. Link in the description. Now, as you can see, I currently do still play the Pokemon games. I loved Scarlet and Violet. Believe it or not, I really did enjoy those games. Even with them being broken messes, I did enjoy it. Now, to be fair, it was a broken mess of a game. When that game came out, there has been way too many glitches to even, show every single type of glitch in this video or explain every glitch that was possible in the beginning of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, personally, I feel very upset about the situation of Pokemon games because Scarlet and Violet were the best two selling Pokemon games of all time besides Pokemon Red, Blue, or in Japan, Red and Green back in the day. So there's no reason why Pokemon games should not be getting the love it deserves when, in my opinion, the original 5 generations of Pokemon received a lot more love and time and just passion into the games than what we have been currently receiving. Again, I'm not saying that Pokemon is not putting passion and, thoughtfulness into the design of the games. And I understand they have an agenda. I just feel personally the amount of money that they are physically receiving and how popular Pokemon is, you would feel that they can improve. Now, as you can see, they have corrected the frame rate. One big thing with the last 2 generations of game was the frame rate. It was a disaster, needless to say. It was really, really bad. And even as a diehard Pokemon fan, I can say genuinely that there were frame rate problems. Thankfully, the Nintendo Switch has seemed to have fixed every single issue with frame rates on these older Pokemon games, or newer, I should say, but even Sword and Shield and Pokemon Legends Arceus, which didn't have too many frame rate issues, but still did have some, it has fixed it. And as you can see, this gameplay is very, very smooth. I've been able to very much enjoy Scarlet and Violet on my Nintendo Switch 2. But for anyone who hasn't been able to make that upgrade, I genuinely feel bad for them because they are not, in my opinion, experiencing the way Game Freak wanted Scarlet and Violet, or even, I dare say, Sword and Shield. So with that being said, let's just make sure that everything is not doom and gloom for Pokemon games currently. One thing I could definitely say is where the games are right now, it's not in a great spot, but it's not in a terrible spot. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. So again, with the Switch 2, they fixed the correction of, it seems at least, they fixed the correction of the frame rate. Now, there are still things that people, including myself, do not enjoy. Like, for example, not having the entire Pokedex available to me where I can pick from any Pokemon from any generation that I want is actually a major concern to me. It doesn't give that diversity that Pokemon used to give. Now, I understand there are more Pokemon than ever before, so there is a larger pool of Pokemon to pick from, but at the same time, it still doesn't allow me to really play the game that I feel I want to play it. Another thing that I can say about Pokemon is how easy the game is and how much it holds your hand through the tutorial and even after the tutorial. That was a major problem with I had with ZA. It just felt like the entire game, at least too long. It took too long to get into the actual game. It felt like it was just a tutorial for multiple hours, and I just did not get the vibe of that at all. Pokemon has been around for a long time. Many people who are playing it, even if they are a brand new player to the Pokemon community, usually can catch on quicker than what Pokemon actually thinks they do. Secondly, this is something that is out of our control at this point, is microtransactions. Pokemon has unfortunately fallen to DLC, paid DLC, which has been going on since Sword and Shield, so we cannot necessarily complain about it, but it is yet something that kind of feels like all of the DLC content should have been in the game. That's the problem that I have with the paid DLC. If it felt like they were working on it afterward and they just couldn't get it out, totally makes sense. But ZA, they announced essentially the DLC before the game even released, and if they did release it and then came out with the DLC, I'm sorry, but it felt like it was way too close together, where it just felt like, oh, here's the game, and by the way, DLC's already coming for it. We already have it made up, blah, blah, blah. Not a big fan of that. So other ways that I also feel is, instead of paid DLC, give us stuff to do after the main story. That's something I feel that many of the Pokemon games that have been currently coming out, there's just a lack of initiative to do things outside of, you know, completing the Elite Four, completing the Pokedex. Give us some more challenges, get us into doing competitive, and showing us the ropes of how to actually make teams and things that encourage us to want to play online. One feature I really did appreciate with Scarlet and Violet is the Terra raids, and obviously I know Sword and Shield also has like the raid style, but I felt like they could have added even more onto that and gone into like full-on dungeons instead of just the big boss battle. Like, let us be able to play with people and explore a cave or explore something together, maybe, you know, in the unknown area 0. That would have been really cool. But instead they're just like, nope, the Terra crystals, blah blah blah, that's it. So yeah, I think that's something definitely they can improve upon. Things that I really miss are things like from Pokemon Emerald with the Battle Frontier or Battle Towers, or even, I forget exactly what it's called, but in Sun and Moon you had the Grand Tree thing where you went up and up, and you actually even had a chance to battle Red and Blue. That was cool. We are missing things like that. This is also probably a niche opinion that I'm about to say, but I also really miss the reward of getting a shiny that took me time. A lot of people probably will say it doesn't matter, I like having shiny Pokemon, I don't care how rare they are. But for me, I never really shiny hunt anymore on the current games, just because I feel like I can get 3 to 4 shinies per, you know, day. If I sit down for a few hours, I feel like I can get a shiny or two easily. Meanwhile, I'm currently playing through my Pokemon Soul Silver, and I'm almost 6,000 attempts already through my Lugia, and that's doing like 200-300 encounters a day. So I've been doing it for about 2 months now, on and off. And it just, I know once I get that shiny Lugia, it's gonna feel so rewarding. And then lastly, probably maybe a niche opinion, but I also think that with how easy everything is to level up your Pokemon, I feel there needs to be a challenge or a reward for doing all of this process still, with training your Pokemon up to be competitive. Yes, competitive Pokemon is easier than ever before, and I agree with most of it to an extent, but I also feel there should be an award for, you know, making it somewhat of a challenge to either learn a move, challenge yourself with training a certain Pokemon. I just feel like everything is very handed to you now with Pokemon, and I miss the old days where you actually had to earn competitive Pokemon or really grind for that. But again, that's probably a personal bias opinion. I would absolutely love to see Pokemon bring back a Battle Tower, or bring back something where you can repeat and learn and become a better player than just going online and getting smacked around by people who already have a team made up, watch tons of competitive Pokemon, or they build a set where if you try to copy a meta, they just immediately, you know, they make a set of 6, or they make a set of Pokemon where it just counters that. So it's just people playing anti-meta where you're not really necessarily learning anything. So that would be something really cool. And for casuals like myself, I'm not super into the Pokemon competitive, but I do feel that there should be a more of an entryway into the mainline games. I know they are coming out with, I think it's called Pokemon Champions. That will probably be really, really cool. And I think that is a really great step for Pokemon to get more people involved with just doing the Pokemon battling. Another thing I would like to see is maybe making shinies more difficult. Again, I think at this point, shinies are just like any other Pokemon. They're not rewarding whatsoever, and they're not even flashy. Even with the sparkles, they are just another, another Pokemon to me. And I feel like all of these little things, these little details, is what makes me and probably many other people feel indifferent, or it just feels off. It feels like something is missing from Pokemon. Whether it be, secret bases from Pokemon Emerald, or doing stuff in Diamond and Pearl, mining for fossils, and just those little mini games that made Pokemon so unique, having like a game inside a game. We miss that. And I do gotta give props to Sword and Shield having the Curry decks. That was really cool. I just missed those little mini games inside of Pokemon that made Pokemon just more of an experience than just an RPG turn-based style. I feel like the only way that Pokemon can really fix their games moving forward is absolutely including every single Pokemon. I think that is a must. Like, it would bring so many people back to enjoying Pokemon again. I just feel having the access to pick which Pokemon you want on your team would be really, really cool. And of course, with Pokemon the 30th anniversary, how sweet would it be to have the next game have every single Pokemon back in a mainline Pokemon game? I'm also expecting the graphics to improve to an extent, but I do not have high hopes. I am personally a big fan of the sprite games, but I don't dislike the 3D models. Are totally fine. I just think we could improve a little bit, as there are many memes that, Pokemon XD looks as good as Scarlet and Violet, which to some angles it does, but not to the extent that a lot of people say. Scarlet and Violet are much, much, much better looking games than Pokemon XD. And then lastly, and this is probably the most important thing for Pokemon to do, is create a game that's worth replaying. What that means to me is make a game where it's fun to explore multiple times, where there's different routes to take, instead of just here's how you go, here's the route you take. I really enjoyed that Scarlet and Violet was an open world, but it also still felt linear. You couldn't just go do whatever you want because areas were blocked off without abilities, so you had to kind of still do like Arven's task and then still do bossing or go to the gyms. You still had to do it in that order. I would really, really love to have a full game, fully available, whatever level, you go fight the 8th gym, and the 8th gym adjusts its level to what you're expected to be. That would be really cool. And hopefully Pokemon does do something. But again, making it enjoyable, replayable is what I'm really looking for in a Pokemon game. Not for me to just pick it up, play it through the story once, and be like, you know what? I'm good. I want to be stuck on a Pokemon game for hundreds and hundreds of hours. Now, I know that may not be for everyone, but I feel longtime Pokemon fans are really looking for something like that. But that's going to conclude my opinions and thoughts on why I feel Pokemon is just different in today's time. I'm not necessarily saying it is a bad thing. It just is different from when I used to play it as a kid, which is why I have been playing a lot of the Pokemon games that I played as a kid in current time. But if you guys did enjoy this video and want to leave a comment on what your opinion is and what your thoughts are, or share some of your experience, I would love to hear. And as always, guys, thank you guys very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.